The Mauryan Empire, once a vast and formidable power that stretched across the Indian subcontinent, was undeniably in decline when Devavarman ascended to the throne. The empire's strength, once seemingly unshakable, had begun to wane. The glory of Chandragupta, the empire's founder, and the enlightened reign of Ashoka, with his pillars of Dharma, had faded into the mists of history, leaving behind not only a weakened central administration, struggling to maintain control, but also growing provincial autonomy, with regional governors asserting their independence and challenging imperial authority. Devavarman inherited not a thriving and prosperous empire, brimming with wealth and resources, but a legacy of grandeur slowly slipping into decay, a kingdom burdened by internal strife and external pressures. He was not a conqueror, eager to expand the empire's borders, or a reformer, ready to overhaul its institutions, but a caretaker, a steward of a declining realm, struggling valiantly to hold together the fraying threads of a once mighty state, facing challenges at every turn. Internal dissent was brewing, and external threats loomed large on the horizon, with neighboring kingdoms eyeing the weakened empire, while the economy showed unmistakable signs of strain, with trade routes disrupted and agricultural output declining. The Puranas, our main historical sources for this period, offer only fragmented and often contradictory accounts, hinting at widespread political instability within the court and a series of short reigns marked by intrigue and power struggles. Devavarman's rule is less about personal triumph or grand achievements, and more about navigating the complex and often overwhelming impersonal forces of decline that were slowly consuming the empire. He faced the immense and unenviable challenge of steering a faltering empire through treacherous waters, with his authority steadily slipping away as regional powers gained strength, and the provinces grew increasingly restless, yearning for independence from the weakening central control. In this twilight of the Mauryan dynasty, the emperor was, in many ways, more a symbol of a bygone era than a sovereign wielding real power, presiding over the agonizingly slow unraveling and eventual dissolution of what was once India's first and greatest empire, leaving behind a complex legacy for future generations. Devavarman's rise to power wasn't forged on the battlefield, nor was it earned through shrewd political maneuvering. It was a matter of birth, not conquest. He succeeded his father, Shalishuka, inheriting not just a throne, but also a legacy of growing instability. Shalishuka's reign was marked by strife and unpopularity, a period of internal conflict that significantly weakened the empire's foundations. The Mauryan succession in this era was rapid, almost dizzying, but tragically unstable. Each new ruler faced an uphill battle. Short reigns became the norm, punctuated by constant threats, both internal and external, from rival claimants vying for power and influence. The court was a viper's nest of ambition and treachery. Devavarman therefore grew up in a palace steeped in intrigue, where power was fleeting, alliances were fragile, and danger was an ever-present companion. This environment inevitably shaped him, molding him into a ruler primarily focused on survival, on preserving what little remained of his inherited kingdom. His coronation in Pataliputra, the ancient capital, was a grand spectacle in appearance, a carefully orchestrated display of royal authority. But beneath the surface, the reality was one of diminishing authority and a rapidly shrinking empire, a far cry from the glory days of the Mauryan dynasty. The title of Maharaja, once synonymous with immense power and dominion, now carried more weight in tradition and ceremony than in actual political or military strength. Devavarman inherited a realm significantly smaller and considerably weaker than the vast empire once ruled by Ashoka the Great. His accession to the throne marked yet another, perhaps irreversible step in the slow and agonizing disintegration of Mauryan rule, a decline that had been decades in the making. Devavarman's reign was defined by decentralization. Provincial governors acted as independent rulers, and regions like Gandhara and Kalinga slipped from imperial control. The once mighty bureaucracy suffered from corruption and inefficiency, while declining revenues crippled the central government. Devavarman's court was rife with factionalism, and the military was a shadow of its former self. Foreign threats, especially from the Greco-Bactrians, loomed on the horizon. His rule was reactive, managing crises, appeasing powerful governors, and struggling to maintain revenue. Grand policies were replaced by political compromises and constant negotiation. Devavarman was a king holding the center as the edges frayed. Devavarman ascended to the throne during a period of significant challenges for the Mauryan Empire. He ruled with pragmatism, primarily focusing his attention and resources on the Gangetic heartland, the core of the empire's remaining strength. His efforts centered on the crucial task of maintaining consistent tax collection, which was essential for funding the state and its operations. He also prioritized the maintenance of law and order, ensuring stability within his diminished realm. Furthermore, he sought to safeguard vital trade routes, recognizing their importance for economic activity and revenue generation. Imperial ambition, once a hallmark of the Mauryan dynasty, gave way to a strategy of managed decline, acknowledging the empire's weakened state. Under Devavarman, power was increasingly exercised through negotiation and diplomacy, and the forging of alliances, rather than relying solely on military force or coercion. This shift reflected the empire's diminished military capabilities. The bureaucracy, originally designed to manage a vast and growing empire, gradually became a burden in the face of decline, its size and complexity hindering effective governance. Unfortunately, Devavarman lacked the resources and political capital necessary to implement meaningful reforms to streamline the administration. Instead, he largely worked within the existing structures, aiming to maintain a sense of continuity and stability, even as the empire's real power and influence continued to fade. His reign can be characterized as a holding action, a desperate attempt to preserve what remained of the Mauryan legacy. It was a brief pause, a moment of relative calm in the empire's inexorable collapse. Ultimately, Devavarman's legacy is that of a caretaker ruler, a figure who presided over a period of decline. He ended up passing on a significantly weakened state to his successor, setting the stage for further fragmentation. He was ultimately unable to reverse the seemingly unstoppable tide of decline that was engulfing the Mauryan Empire. Despite political decay, the Mauryan economy in the core regions remained active. Infrastructure built by earlier emperors still supported trade, especially along the Uttarapatha. Agriculture was the backbone, and the state controlled key resources and levied taxes. However, as provinces grew autonomous, local tolls and taxes increased, making trade more difficult. Loss of peripheral regions hurt international commerce, and state revenues declined. Devavarman's economic policy focused on maximizing revenue from the heartland, possibly increasing taxes to offset losses. The currency showed signs of debasement, reflecting economic stress. Managing the economy was a constant struggle to fund a shrinking state. By Devavarman's time, India's religious landscape was diverse. Brahmanical traditions, Buddhism, and Jainism coexisted, but Devavarman was not a notable religious patron. Unlike Ashoka, he issued no edicts or reforms, and the later Mauryan kings adopted a neutral stance, allowing religious groups to coexist. The Puranas mention him only in king lists, and Buddhist and Jain sources are silent. The great monasteries and stupas continued, but new imperial support was minimal. Religion developed independently of the state, supported by local communities. Devavarman's policy was one of maintenance, preserving the existing religious fabric without change. Devavarman's main achievement was maintaining the throne for 7 years, ensuring dynastic continuity amid decline. He passed the crown to Satadhanvan, but his reign saw no great monuments or reforms. History remembers him as a caretaker, not a builder or conqueror. His rule is a footnote, defined by the era's challenges rather than personal accomplishments. The empire weakened further, setting the stage for its final collapse and the rise of the Shungas. Devavarman's story is a lesson in the difficulties of managing decline, showing that history is shaped not only by greatness, but also by the struggle to hold on as the past slips away.